Mystics MMOs. I'm your host, Mystic Raven. Okay, I'm gonna take off the headset because I'm not playing the game. I'm just gonna put it around my neck. All right, so let's hypothetically say that the game was going live tomorrow, or anytime you're going to be playing Crowfall. I think it's sound advice to plan ahead to save time. I mean, right now it's still in closed beta, so it's okay to like play around. But when this goes live, you're gonna want to plan ahead. Now, I'm a player who likes a hands-on approach to a class to get a feel for it. I think that's the best way in any game to determine your play style, whether or not that class, embodies your play style. It's the best way to, say it. So, like I said, I'm going to throw up the chat over here just in case. But in the description, I put the skill calculator. Now it is in French, but it's okay because what you can end up doing is translating to English, and then you'll see that the abilities themselves will come up in English. So you're fine. That's all you need to know. All right. So yesterday I built a knight, and I messed up on the talent tree. Now currently there is no respecs in Crowfall. Now they are working on this. They're addressing it. They're going to be implementing a respec system. Always something. That's another thing Crowfall needs to do, just in case you get a little hiccup. Stop the load screen. It's still one of the only games that still has a load instead of just like a pause or a freeze. You're reloading. So that's a memory issue. Anyways, plan ahead. Get to this skill calculator, and before you even plan out, let's say, you know what class you're going to go with. Good question of it is what race, right? I think Wiki here is really good for that. You can pick a race. Like, I went with the high elf for the debuff, but I think I'm actually going to go with Elkin. I mean, it has a high dex, and we can refunnel into the intellect, right? Got a decent amount of strength. Constitution, we wouldn't put into these two. But base levels are pretty decent, to be honest with you. So, but, race does going to matter for what? Passives. Leatherworking and woodworking for crafting. So to actually be a decent crafter, this is the one thing I'm looking at. Dodge effect, right? And then limited duration can see stealth. I was like, I don't really need the debuff if I'm CCing them. What I need to be able to do is see those little stealthers without having to change my discipline. So in your major, that's a big deal. Now currently, I do not like their discipline. There's no website that has a really good discipline category where you can just put in like the type of discipline you're interested in. Like when we take a look at the disciplines here, there's nothing that gives you a good indication of just clicking on that discipline and it listing those discs. I hope they do that in the future. It's like I said, it's still in beta, so anything could happen. So, if I'm going to go with the warrior, I made a couple mistakes. You only get 15 points. So I was like, okay. And I actually do like, I'm going to take this for that crit. And then you'll have to still manage bar layout. Now, I'm actually going to take this because if you look, when you're using this, you'll see what the passive does. And it heals the knight for 750 health when applying a stun or knockdown to an enemy. And I get a knockdown with my combo, and I have many stuns. Okay. But yeah, This has, I'm going to be going with the life leeching effect. Now, here was the deal here. I ended up taking Pell training. But okay. We're back again. Oh, I'm going to get a hold of them. After doing the math, the chivalry is better for the power efficiency. Take the minor. We go over. And then we're going to go with the finisher, because we're not going to let up. And then we'll take that minor to increase finisher damage. And then I ended up going with battle for the leeching effect for the discipline disc. And that's 15 points. So Elkin with this setup is very solid. I can't, and I'm really happy with, you know, the CC and the way everything's looking with this build and this configuration. So yeah, this is the direction in which we're going. A lot of people might want to take the spike shield, but you know, to me, whatever. They might even want to take the swordsman. That means, you know, that buff or the sword damage means nothing when I'm, you know, dealing more into the execution. Lock them down. You know, they retaliate. Make sure, you know, you're getting that leeching effect. As soon as they retaliate, here's the deal. Timing in this is going to be everything, and I don't want to use shield block. You know, you could, but you're going to sacrifice the slot, right, in this game. You only have one bar in this game versus dual bar in ESO. So, you know, this is kind of reminding me of my Arms Warrior minus the dual wield capability. But I'm getting the best of both worlds, though, with the stunning effects, the lockdowns. So you CC the hell out of them, and as soon as they retaliate, which they will, then you pop the leeching effects along with the passive to the healing effect. Once you build up a crit damage, and that's what's really going to be nice, because it might not affect the passive, I'll have to test that. It will affect the lifesteal effect, because the lifesteal effect is based on damage dealt. And that, to me, is relevant due to what? Critical factor. This is another reason we're going to have to go with the Noble Blood, because as soon as you stun them, you know they're going to retaliate. You want to pop this. And when you pop it, guess what it does? It guarantees the crit to the passive, right? So Oath of Will now grants a 20 packs. 72, I think. So that's what we're going to want to do. As soon as you CC them, they're going to retaliate. It's given. Why? Because they're stunned. They're not going to want to sit there and take damage just, you know, willy-nilly. So when they retaliate, you pop that Oath of Will. That's going to go ahead and pop Oath of Will. That's going to recover energy on top of increasing critical rating. Now, Oaken has a nice crit rating. We want to get the base damage modifier just to increase the damage, but we want to increase critical rate as much as possible without exceeding the value due to diminishing returns. Once we pop that and we hit them, boom, baby. We're going to life leech their butts for the amount of damage dealt. And it's about timing. This is the thing. Like, people were saying, oh, Knight stinks. No, you just don't know how to play it. This is what I played multiple tanks, multiple Knights, and I'm aware that most of the time they have, you know, a really strong, you know, into stunning and lockdowns. CCs. The problem with Knights is what? Against range. That's why I use Chain. Are going to be having a really good time with this. Okay. So, onslaught, combos. Combos is kind of important. Retaliate. And then put the chain. There it is. Chain attack. Chain attack is definitely where you need to be at. You need to have this ability. They don't have shield spin. What is that? But so plan ahead. Just plan ahead. You know, if act like it's going to be live. If you're going to do anything, check out the race. Check out the passives. initial stats can be a good thing, but remember, as you progress, you're going to acquire gear that has stats, and you're going to play stat points. So you're going to more than make up for the difference in how you allocate these points. But the passives you don't get with every race. Every race doesn't have the same passive capability. That's where you need to plan a little ahead and say, oh, yeah, the Centaur has nice support abilities, right? And, it has a wild charge, right? But it's a knockback. I don't want a knockback. I want to bring him in. Minus the crafting, right? Which they're changing. This is all changing. It's on PTS right now. It's already on PTS. Minus the crafting bonuses. Everything's subject to change. Passives are important. The disciplines are important. That's going to make a big difference when you're picking up discs and how you're aligning, these racial passives along with, disc placement. So, yeah. We'll get it. So, anyways, guys, I'm going to let you guys go. I just wanted to do a short stream on this because I think it's like in everything in life, right? You will have people who think they understand something, but until you get it in a person's hands who's comfortable with their play style, you can sometimes underestimate something. Like this Centaur could work on somebody else's build and configuration. So I wouldn't tell people not to pick a Centaur. I'll be like, how are you applying the Centaur towards your build? And that could very well work for them. It very well could. So unlike other toxic players who would tell you, oh, you definitely don't want to do that race with that class, I would say, how are you applying it? Because you might have something that I would never have thought of. And that's what makes these games, and especially in PvP, appealing. Because it diversifies ability, but they're just not taking advantage of it. So I would encourage people to do what you want to do, right? Play how you want to play, but plan ahead. Why? So you just save time. Just that simple. If this is going to be like a main, or this is something that you're interested in, take a little pre-screening, feel it out, look at the races, see what you have in your mind. It may work, it may not. You might have to start from scratch or go back to the drawing board. But at the end of the day, what feels comfortable in your hands and how you play it will eventually work out to the way you want to implement, that build. Okay, this is Crowfall. It's, this is not World of Warcraft in the essence that you can't adjust those stats, right? Your stats are limited, right? You have no control over the gear. In this game, you do. If you want plate that has dex, you can have it. You want plate that has intel, you can have it. You want plate that has constitution, you can have it, right? So you control a lot more by customizing your build. And I encourage everybody to check it out. Okay, links in the description below. Once again, I'm Mystic Raven. This is Mystic's MMOs.